Hi, and welcome to Soup for Gordon. All right, we're gonna start by making soup, and everybody's first soup is a very traditional soup to make, easy in construction. It's called sopa de berga del toro, polpina soup. Okay, we're gonna make the first soup today, and it's a little something I call smoked spinach soup. It's a hack of a couple different ingredients. A couple different ingredients, by that I mean soup bases. We have roasted red pepper and tomato soup, and we're also featuring just a couple ounces of the cooking stock, the chicken cooking stock. These things are just going to be in your refrigerator. They're going to be open. You want to make soup? You got it. These soup bases are a real easy way to keep things going in a kitchen without an immersion blender to take a bunch of over-boiled vegetable matter and then bloop it into submission. And essentially, what you end up with is roughly the same as this. However, you'd have to sieve the blended stuff so that you only have the perfectly refined product. Hardly worth it on a day-to-day basis, even for me. It's fun every once in a while, but hardly worth it on a day-to-day basis. So a couple things we're going to also need: a knife. In this case, we're using a santoku. Santokus differ from chef knives. Chef knives have a kind of broader blade, broader curve. And the reason why I really like santokus is because you don't have to work so hard to rock the knife. It's a lot easier to get most of the blade onto the board at any one time. All right, so we're also going to need to set our board up so that it doesn't wiggle, spin, or otherwise interfere with our progress. So, to that end, I've got a mat that I've cut in the size of my cutting board, slip it underneath, and plop the board on top. We're not going anywhere. If you don't have that, that's okay. You dampen a paper towel, and I mean just dampen it, and put the paper towel flat underneath and put the board on. It will stop the board from wiggling and going sideways and back and forth. All right, we're gonna take our pot, remember this, with the lid. I really do like this Sur La Table saucier. It's not exactly a soup pot, it's a saucier. Technically, who cares? It's a pot. And we're gonna put it on right now, and I'm gonna turn the flame to low-ish. I usually start a little medium, then rock it back to low, and I'm gonna have to do that because I want to get this done quickly. All right, we are also going to need our 4-cup measuring cup, and the reason for that is we're going to take some of our spinach, chuck it in, roughly 2 cups. Okay, not exact. This is not exact by any stretch. Okay, now that our pot is a little bit warmed up, at least the metal is starting to warm up a bit, we're going to put in 2 ounces of chicken stock. 2 ounces is a 1/4 cup. You need to start to get comfy with all these little conversions. I'm no math genius, far from it. My kids speak math, I do not. All right, we're gonna take our spinach and moosh it. Why? Because there's really no point in being nice to it. We're about to boil the gazungas out of it. And it's gonna get pretty tiny. I'm gonna do a cut on here. It's called a chiffonade, okay? And that means going straight through this little roll of spinach that I made. Make sure your fingers are out of the way at all times, always behind your knuckles. You know, it's actually easier to repair a slice off your knuckle than it is the tip of your finger. For whatever reason, DNA being what it is, it seems to perform that task a little easier. Okay, so now I did a chiffonade, It's all essentially the same direction. I'm just gonna go back over it again. I like minimal processing. Don't bother processing things too much. Okay? So now we're gonna chuck it into the pot. So I'm going to try to grab, firm grasp of most of this. You bring the pot over, that's easiest, huh? Chuck that into your pot. These camera motions, man, you are gonna get ill. I swear to God. I've also got, let's call it 1/8 of a teaspoon of smoked Spanish paprika. And we're gonna do what is normally called, just a pinch of the chipotle powder. Chipotle powder is hot. You like hot? Great. I actually like a little more than the rest of my family. But that's a good pinch. And into the pot. It doesn't really matter what you're doing at this point as far as like how mixed it is. Just dump it inside. Also going to grab the lid and then we're going to put that on the pot because what this is going to do is more or less melt it down really quick and really easy and make it somewhat softer than it started. But we're not going to brutalize it, just melt it down. So bear with. So at this point you can give the pot a little bit of a stir because you're seeing some action in there, right? Great. That's what we want, a little action about them. Give it a stir. This pot heats up very nice and quickly. Yes, I bang. So this is literally just going to be another few seconds before we add 8 ounces of the roasted red pepper and tomato soup. And after that, the final thing that we do is season with salt and pepper. And I'm telling you, that's it, unless you want to go one step farther. Okay, just a couple seconds later, look what we got. Let's call it 30 seconds. Everything is melted down pretty far. And at this point, we can add the roasted red pepper and tomato soup. Now, as I'm holding a camera with one hand and I just dumped the soup with another, I am not going to take a rubber spatula and get everything else out of here. Normally I would, and I highly recommend it. I mean, the ounces count after a long period of time. I will, however, because it's dripping over a little bit, lick that off the side. All right, so armed with our trusty stirring tool, whichever tool you choose to utilize, now's the time to give it a stir. And you're going to bring it up to a simmer, not a boil, a simmer. And what is that? That's where little bubbles start to come up from the bottom. You don't need to boil this. If you do, I mean, they made it more or less idiot-proof. I say more or less. You can burn it, but and you can also put a lid on for temporary purposes, which you just need to not walk away and do other things. There's a little bit of focus here, but this literally is just taking a few minutes to get this up to speed. But while we're doing that, let's go to a refrigerator. All right, your refrigerator, I don't care how big it is, you can find some space in there to start keeping things around that we're going to be using for soup. Also things you've eaten before that might do you well inside a soup later. We're going to go into my embarrassment. I say it's my embarrassment because it could be much better organized. I'm telling you that straight up. In this case, I'm going to a shelf of cooked leftovers. Here, it's not the only shelf, but I'm going to use these two. I got some white beans and some, looks like corn from the other night. We're going to go with that. Our soup is beginning to do what I said, is simmer, just a few bubbles. So we're going to now turn it down to low. And that's for right now, until I add the other ingredients. As already stated, this soup is pretty much done on its own. Got the few bubbles in the center there. It's edible right now with some added salt and pepper. However, I have beans from the other night. Those are going in. In this corn, well, who doesn't like a little bit of corn in their turd? You got to think ahead here. And now, suddenly, we have a 3-vegetable, not counting the soup base, a three vegetable soup that's almost ready to eat. We're going to have to simmer a little bit. And don't forget to add a little bit of salt shaker, or grinder in this case, because, you know, we're fancier than all get out. And then a little bit of pepper. It never hurts. It just brings up a little bit extra on what we call the bottom end. Okay, once again, you're going to turn it up to medium for a few seconds and get a boil going. A low boil. So this little trick with spinach means that you can put a little bit added flavor, also a little bit more added nutrition in everything that you're doing, and you're not even, it's not going to even take any space in your pot. It melts down. It melts down nicely and fits into the texture of just about everything. And again, minimally process it. Don't be, immersion blenders just make baby food out of everything. They have their place, but it's hardly necessary to make baby food out of a soup that you're going to eat. At this point, I'm absolutely certain a slow boil is started. And there we go. And we're going to turn it down to low. And we're going to give it one last stir. And just let it sit for a few seconds. Everybody wants to have things instantly. This is not an instant world in terms of, you know, that I know cooking. I mean, that's where you're going to go to the cans if or frozen if you want instant. This is not instant, nor should it be. Let it just sit for a few seconds. All right, and with that, we're just going to spoon out a little bit. Tend to get fussy about not getting any of the sides of the bowl. So pull some up and wait a few seconds, then drop it in there. Splashed anyway. There you go. And then what we have is delicious smoked spinach soup. In this case, because I had some leftover beans and corn. Smoked spinach soup with white beans and corn. Couldn't be any simpler, dude. Let me know how it worked out. Until next time, thanks for stopping by here with SoupForGordon. And I don't have any bon appetit or anything. Just eat the food, man. Eat the food.